Hi girls, my name is Yulia, and you're here with me on my channel called Julia Anchi. I recently started making my masterclasses available to everyone. I've already shared with you a masterclass on crocheting a large pumpkin from jute twine. And now I've changed the pattern, and I ended up with these mini pumpkins, as I call them. And now I want to share this masterclass with you as well. Let's take a look together at what these pumpkins look like. I'll show you another option too. But first, I want to show you the pumpkin you can make. Using my first masterclass, where we crochet a large pumpkin from jute together. This is the kind of big pumpkin you get. This one is made from cotton cord, but again, as I mentioned, I demonstrate using jute twine in the tutorial. It doesn't matter if it's made from cotton or from jute, the pumpkin turns out the same size. And it's such a beautiful, really stylish, honestly very cool pumpkin. So, if you haven't tried making this big pumpkin yet, please give it a shot. You won't regret it. I'll leave the link in the description for this video. So that's about my first tutorial on making the big pumpkin. Now, here we're going to make mini pumpkins together, so let's take a look at that too. The lid and the jute stem. You can improvise and make a different kind of stem if you want. This is what the inside of our pumpkin looks like. It's pretty firm, as you can see. But if we use a thinner cord, this pumpkin is made with a 4mm diameter cord. It's cotton, yes, a cotton cord. But if we use a thinner cotton cord, for example, 3mm, we'll end up with this kind of mini pumpkin. So it's basically a small, neat little basket box. There you go. So you can improvise. Use a thicker or thinner cord. Now I'll show you some more. Here I also have one made from 3mm cord. It's made from cotton twine. I just haven't sewn the tag on yet. So you get these small little pumpkins. This one is bigger and denser because the cotton cord is thicker. It knits up quickly because the pattern is shorter than the one for the big pumpkin. Now I'll tell you about the materials we'll need, and then we'll get started with the knitting. I'll be showing these little baskets using 4mm cotton cord as an example. So friends, here's what I used. For knitting the pumpkin, I used cotton cord with a diameter of 4mm. The cord is round, olive colored, and I bought it on Wild Berries. I'll leave links to the store. The manufacturer is called Lavka Vyazenka on Ozon. They're also available there, so you can find them on marketplaces. That's for the pumpkin. This one is bigger if you want to make a smaller pumpkin. Here I showed you the small one. For that, I used a cotton cord with a diameter of 3mm. It's also round like this. I'll show you the difference in thickness and diameter. So basically, the olive cord is almost twice as thick, probably. Well, maybe a little less. That's why the pumpkin turns out bigger. This one is about twice the size of the pumpkin made from the 3mm cotton cord. So, cotton cord. If you're using other materials like polyester cord, I don't think the diameter is much different, so you can use it as well. As for t-shirt yarn, I'm not sure about it. The width seems pretty big, and I've never worked with it. But I think you could give it a try too. You can also make this kind of pumpkin from jute twine, but then you'll need to crochet with 2 strands if it's the 3mm kind. Use thread like jute twine if you want a firm pumpkin, but in principle, you can also use 2 strands of 2-ply jute twine. In that case, the pumpkin will be a bit softer and probably a little smaller than this one. If you use 2 strands of 3-ply twine, then the pumpkin will turn out this size. If you use 2 strands of 2-ply twine, it will be a little smaller. Next, for the loop, I used jute rope with a diameter of 4 millimeters. Here, it's about 40 centimeters long, so you'll need 30 to 40 centimeters to make a loop like this. Also, I'll mention that you can make the stem however you like. You don't have to use jute rope. You can crochet and make the stem yourself. The girls who crocheted pumpkins. After my first master class, they started improvising, and now they crochet all sorts of different stems on their own. And it looks really beautiful. So that's that. Now about the hooks. For 4 millimeter cotton cord, I use a 4 millimeter crochet hook, that is, a hook with a 4 millimeter diameter. For the pumpkin I made with a thinner 3 millimeter cord, I used a 3.5 millimeter hook. Next, you'll need scissors, a tag, and a needle for sewing on the tag and for the stem. To glue down these little fibers here, so they don't get fuzzy so the rope doesn't fray, I use glue. I have 2 types. Either a hot glue gun or PVA glue, which turns clear when it dries. About both glues, I'll say I prefer PVA glue because when it dries, you can't see it. So in general, you can't really notice anything. Everything looks very neat, but it takes longer to dry. The hot glue gun. Of course, it glues everything quickly, but there's a catch. If you look closely, sometimes it leaves these little white marks. That's the part one don't like because it doesn't turn out very neat. Well, it's neat, but not as nice as when you can't see the glue at all, like when I used PVA glue. So it's really up to you. Some people might use a hot glue gun, others might use PVA glue. If you're making little tails, if you're knitting tails, then you don't need any glue. So those were the materials. Now, let's move on to the knitting. Friends, I also forgot to mention how much material you'll need. For the bigger pumpkin, the one made from 4 millimeter cotton cord, I used 1 skein. According to the seller, there's 100 meters in a skein. Give or take 3 meters. So I ended up using almost the entire skein, with just a tiny bit left over. At the end of the video, I'll show you how much is left when I knit with this material. As for the smaller pumpkin, which is made from 3 millimeter cotton cord, you have a bit more left over. You still use more than half, but there is some left. With the bigger one, there's almost nothing left, but with the smaller one, you do have some left over. And this skein also has 100 meters. The manufacturer makes these skeins specifically in 100-meter lengths, so that's how the consumption works, as I mentioned. Now, let's move on to knitting the pumpkin. The pumpkin is started from the center of the basket's bottom. We'll be knitting in the round, closing each row as we go. The stitches will be different, meaning we'll be combining both single crochet and double crochet stitches. So, the stitches will vary. Since we're starting with an amigurumi ring, leave a small tail, about 5 centimeters. Next, make the ring. I'll show you how I do it. There are many ways, but I'll show you my method. I wrap the cotton cord around my 2 fingers, crossing it over on the inside to hold it in place. While holding it with my finger, I lay the yarn across and hold it down with my ring finger. Then I insert the hook under the first strand and pull the second one through. Then I turn it over like this. I hold this part with my fingers and remove the fingers of my left hand. So, what I have here is the tail and this is the working yarn. Next, I need to hold the ring like this. And I need to secure the stitch. There, I've secured it like this. I count this stitch, though some people don't. I count it. So, as I said before, I'll be showing you how I crochet my way. We need to crochet a total of 6 stitches into the ring. 1, 2. Insert the hook into the ring, grab the working yarn, pull it through, and grab the working yarn again. Pull through the 2 loops on the hook. That's 3. Insert the hook into the ring again. Grab the working yarn and pull it through. There are 2 loops on the hook. The loops on the hook should always be the same height. That way, our rows will all be the same size. Next, I grab the working yarn again and pull it through. And this is how we crochet the whole thing. So in total, we should have in the ring 6 single crochets have been made. I've made 6 single crochets. How do I keep track? I count the little braids. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th braid is on the hook. In the first row, which we're about to close, I should have 6 braids. That's it, I stop here. Next, I need to close this ring. I take the tail and pull on it. Pull it tight enough to close the ring completely, so there's no hole in the center. Then I pull the sides together, pull on the hook, and now tighten the last stitch. We pull this out a little bit, because now we're going to close the row. Next, I insert the hook under the very first chain of the row, like this, grab the last loop I pulled out with the hook, and pull this loop through to the wrong side. After pulling it through, I turn the work and insert the hook from the right side. Right under this little loop, the half loop we just made. Next, I take the loop that I've just made and place it onto the hook, making sure it sits properly. Then I pick up the working yarn, which is the yarn attached to the ball, and gently pull it through the loop that is already on the hook. Just like that, I've closed everything. Now, if we count, I have 6 chains in the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everything worked out. 6 stitches. I finished, that was the first row. Now I need to work the second row, and for the second row, I need to double it, and here's how I should do it. I will crochet additional stitches into each chain. That is not 1 stitch per chain, but 2. This way, I'll turn 6 into 12, meaning in the second row, I should have 12 stitches. Without a yarn over, take the first stitch. I crochet, grab the working yarn, and pull it through. Just like this, through the loop, that's the first stitch. Next, into the same base. Under this same chain, I insert the hook, grab the working yarn, and pull it through. And crochet again. I've made an increase. Now I have 2 stitches in one base. Next, I find the next chain, insert the hook under it, just under the chain, grab the working yarn. Pull the yarn through, crochet the stitches, making sure to pull them all to the same height. Crochet with even tension, not too tight and not too loose. Grab the working yarn and crochet into the same base. Under this same chain, I crochet a second stitch, so I'm making an increase. I've finished that, now onto the next chain. I insert the hook under the chain, pull up the working yarn, crochet again, and into the same place I make a second stitch. I keep doing the same thing and continue like this until the end. I've finished this row. Now I'm going to close it. Here's what I do. I insert the hook again into the very first chain from the wrong side to the right side. Like this, I pull the last loop out a bit, place it on the hook, and pull this loop through to the wrong side, just like that. I insert the hook into this created loop. Now I have the tail. You can actually start crocheting it right from the beginning of the second row. But I missed that step, so now I'm going to crochet it. Let me show you. I take the tail, and I lay it like this, between the hook and this loop. Next, I insert the hook right into this loop that we pulled out, tightening it by pulling on the working yarn. If these parts have stretched out, I tighten them. I need to pull them to the same size as my braids because this will also be a braid. I tighten the braid and finish the stitch. That's it. We've completed the second row and doubled it. Now we have 12 braids here. Now we pull this tail tight, and I'm going to crochet it in now, just like this, along the fabric. Third row. Here, our pattern changes a little bit. We will alternate single stitches and increases. A single stitch is when we crochet one stitch into a braid. An increase is what we just did together. That's 2 stitches into one braid. So, let's crochet the first stitch together. We secure this loop that we just made, secured it, and that's the first stitch in our row. Next, according to the pattern, we have an increase into the next braid. I insert the hook and crochet 2 stitches into this braid. Both of them are single crochet stitches. We're crocheting now, and into the same base I insert the hook and make the second stitch. 2. Pay attention to the tail. It gets caught up from time to time, so keep pulling it tight as you go along according to the pattern. Now we have a single stitch again because we're alternating single stitches and increases. Then make an increase into the next chain. Work 2 stitches into one chain and continue on. Our pattern repeats: single stitch, increase, single, increase, and so on until the end. Now please finish this row on your own, and then we'll close it together again. We always close the rows the same way. I've finished the third row. Now let's close it together. Pull up the last loop. Insert the hook under the very first stitch from the wrong side to the right side. Next, take the pulled up loop with the hook and pull it through to the wrong side. Like this. Then from the right side, insert the hook again under the stitch you just made. Grab this loop, the one that's left here, and pull it tight, then crochet the next stitch. This is the first stitch of the next row, the tail. We've already crocheted, so you can cut off this part of the tail now. Everything here is even, and now we move on to crocheting the next fourth row. Here, we're going to follow this pattern. 2 single crochets, an increase, 2 single crochets, an increase. Repeat this pattern all the way to the end and finish off as usual. Let's crochet the beginning together, and you can finish the rest on your own. So, we crochet our very first stitch. Secure the loop. This is our first single crochet. Next, according to the pattern, we have another single crochet. Insert the hook into the next stitch, pull through, and make a single crochet. Next is an increase, which means 2 single crochets in one stitch. Now, make another single crochet stitch. Break time equals 0.5s /. Single crochet stitch, increase, 1, and in the same stitch, a second single crochet. Now, following the pattern, continue on your own. 2 single crochets, increase, 2 single crochets, increase. Repeat this to the end of the round and close as usual. And now we move on to the next row. So friends, I finished the fourth row as well, crocheted to the end and closed it off. Now we have 2 more rows to go, rows 5 and 6, which are to be crocheted. The pattern is almost the same, just a little bit different. I'll explain the pattern to you now, and you'll crochet these 2 rows on your own. We start and close each row the same way. The pattern for the next row, the 5th row, is as follows: 3 single crochets, an increase, 3 single crochets, an increase. Repeat this pattern to the end of the row, then close it off. The next sixth row will be 4 single crochets, an increase for single crochets, an increase. Again, crochet to the end, close the row as usual. That's it. Now I'll crochet these 2 rows off camera. You should crochet them on your own as well. I've already explained the pattern to you, and we'll meet again at the 7th row, where the pattern changes, and from there, we'll crochet together. Well, 6 rows are done. Now we're starting the 7th row. In this row, we're adding a new type of stitch and the pattern changes. Now we'll crochet as follows. We crochet a single crochet, then 2 individual half double crochets, then an increase made of half double crochets. Again, 2 individual ones, half double crochets. Then the pattern repeats, single crochet, 2 individual half double crochets, an increase of half double crochets, and again 2 individual half double crochets. The pattern will repeat 6 times in a row, and this time we'll close the row in exactly the same way. The only difference is that we'll insert the hook a little differently. I'll show you how to do that. Now, together, we will work through 1 segment of the pattern. Then you'll crochet the remaining 5 segments on your own, and we'll close the row together. How do we start? We start exactly the same way. We secure this loop, and that gives us the first single crochet. Next, according to the pattern, we have 2 individual half double crochets. How do we make a half double crochet? Yarn over, insert the hook under the next chain, grab the working yarn and pull it through. And then all 3 of these loops on the hook we crochet together. That's how you make a half double crochet. Next, yarn over, do the same thing, insert the hook into the next chain, pull up the working yarn again. We have 3 loops on the hook and we crochet all 3 together like this. This is a half double crochet number 2. Next, according to the pattern, we have an increase with these half double crochets, meaning we crochet 2 identical half double crochets into the next chain. So that's an increase, crochet them and move on. According to the pattern, again, 2 single half double crochets with a yarn over, yarn over. We crochet 1 into the next chain, then crochet 2, and then follow the pattern. It repeats, and again we will have a single crochet. We crocheted it, and the pattern again is 1 half double crochet with a yarn over, another single half double crochet with a yarn over, an increase made of half double crochets with a yarn over, and again 2 single half double crochets with a yarn over. And so we repeat the pattern 6 times until the end of the row. Now please go ahead and crochet this part. Do it on your own, and then we'll close the row together. I've finished the row, and now we're going to close it together. Also, pull the last stitch out a little. Insert the hook under the very first stitch, just like we did before. Take the pulled out loop and pull it to the wrong side, and from now on, it's better to insert the hook for the next stitches the way I'm about to show you. Why? Because if you pay attention, a hole will start to form here when the stitches get taller. Here, we already have a half double crochet. Next will be a double crochet, and the taller the stitch, the bigger the gap. Right here is the space between the first and last stitch. So to prevent that, to keep a hole from forming here, we insert the hook. Not the usual way. Yes, before we would insert it, but now we go into this leg, basically splitting the very first stitch in half like this. Then we yarn over, pull up a loop, tighten it to the size we need, matching the other stitches, and finish the stitch. And notice, now we don't have a hole here. If we hadn't done it this way, there would be a hole right here. But now it's gone. Now we're moving on to the 8th row. In the 8th row, we're going to change the pattern. It will be different now. We're adding or rather, we'll be working different stitches. Now we'll be using double crochets. And there's a new element introduced, which is called a decrease. I'll show you everything now. We'll knit one segment together, and then you'll do the rest, which is 5 more on your own. You'll finish those on your own. The row is closed exactly the same way as I just showed you. So, let's start the row and knit it according to the following pattern. We're going to do a decrease. A decrease is when we knit 2 stitches together into one. So, the first 2 stitches will be a decrease. Next, we'll have a single double crochet. Then 3 increases. So, in these next 3 stitches, we'll make 2 double crochets into each, and the last stitch will again be a single double crochet. Next, the following 2 stitches will be a decrease. A single double crochet, 3 increases with double crochets, and then another single double crochet with a yarn over, and this pattern repeats 6 times. So, we finish the first segment, and now we make a decrease. When we start this row, we crochet right away like this. Yes, we don't make a single crochet. Next, without securing this tail, this chain, yes, we insert it. Under the next chain, insert the hook, grab the working yarn, and pull it through. Now we have 2 stitches on the hook, and now we crochet them together. So from 2 stitches, we've made 1. That's our decrease. Next, according to the pattern, we make a single double crochet, yarn over. Under the chain, insert the hook, pull up a loop. Now we have 3 loops on the hook. Now we yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Then yarn over again and pull through the remaining 2 loops. That's a double crochet stitch. Let me show you again. Yarn over, and according to the pattern, now we will crochet into these 3 chains. We'll be making increases, 2 double crochets into each chain. Let's make the first increase. Yarn over, insert under the chain. Grab the working yarn, pull it through, yarn over, and pull through the first 2 loops, then through the next 2 loops. There's our double crochet. Into the same base, yarn over under the chain, pull through, work 2 double crochets, and then 2 more double crochets, all into the first one. We've made 1 increase, 2 more to go. Let's crochet it. All right, let's do it again. One. Right here as well. 22, and the next final increase. 1. Right here as well. 2. Next, according to the pattern, this is the finishing stitch of the segment. It's a single stitch with 1 yarn over. Done. That's it. The segment of the pattern. We've finished it. Next, it repeats and starts with a decrease. How do we make the next decrease? Insert the hook under the next chain, pull through. Don't work it yet. Insert the hook under the next chain, pull through. Now we have 3 loops on the hook. At first there were 2 because it's the beginning of the row. Next, we'll have 3. 3 loops on the hook and all 3 loops. We pull them all through together, and there's our decrease, and then the pattern repeats. Now please go ahead and finish the row on your own. Close the row just like I showed you, and then we'll move on to knitting the next row. I've finished knitting the 8th row, and it looks kind of like a flower, right? It has a flower shape. Actually, these things that look like petals are already the pumpkin segments. The pumpkin shape is starting to show. This row is the first row of the sides. Next, we'll turn it over, and these will become the more 3-dimensional sides. the segments of the pumpkin. So now we move on to row 8, and for row 8, we follow the pattern. Single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 single double crochets, then again a single crochet, then again 8 single double crochets. And so this pattern repeats 6 times, and the row is finished in the same way. Yes, now we'll crochet just 2 stitches together because I've already shown you how to make single crochets and double crochets, so you already know, and I just explained the pattern. So we make 1 single crochet. Yes, we secure this loop of ours. We've made 1 single crochet. Next, in the very first chain, we start making double crochets. Yarn over under the chain, pull up a loop. Now you have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Then yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops. Again, yarn over, insert the hook into the next chain, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, then again through the next 2. We've already made 2 single double crochet stitches together. Now make 6 more. Now you finish the rest on your own. A single crochet, then 8 single double crochets without increases, then again a single crochet, 8 single double crochets, and so on. All right, friends, please continue to the end on your own, finish off the row, and we'll meet again in the next row. So friends, I've finished row 9 as well, and now I'm going to turn it inside out. So the pumpkin is turning the other way, right? Right now, the wrong side was facing out, so I just turned it inside out, and now I'm getting the start of the sides. Next, let's move on to the 10th row, where we'll have the following pattern. A single crochet, 3 single double crochets, an increase, and then 4 single double crochets. The pattern with 1 double crochet is repeated 6 times in the row and closed as usual. We work through this segment together, and then you do the rest on your own. We make the first single crochet as usual, then continue on. Here are the first 3 stitches, each with 1 double crochet, meaning we crochet single double crochets one by one. Next, in the following stitch, so the next one pops up. Break time equals 0.5s / and then crochet it. The second stitch, and in the next one, the third single double crochet. So we've made 3 single double crochets, and next, according to the pattern, we have an increase. Into this stitch, we crochet 2 double crochets, 1 and then another into the same stitch. Done. Moving on. We have 4 stitches left, and in each of them, we crochet 1 single double crochet. So 1 double crochet into the first stitch, 2, then 3 in total. And the last one, 4. That's it. We've finished the pattern. Next, the sequence repeats, starting from the single crochet, 3 double crochets, an increase, then 4 double crochets. Please go ahead and crochet this part on your own again, and I'll see you in the next row. Let's keep going, friends. I've finished this row as well. Now we're moving on to row 11, which has the following pattern. A single crochet, 9 double crochets, a single crochet, and 9 double crochets. I won't show how to do the double crochets again, since we've already done this kind of row together. Here, yes, we had a single crochet and 8 double crochets. Now crochet 1 more double crochet in this row, please, following the pattern. Single crochet, 9 double crochets. Finish everything the same way, and then we'll meet up again. The next 2 rows will be identical, but I'll explain them to you. There's one detail. In one spot things will be different. I'll explain it to you, but for now, continue on your own. Alright, let's get started. Single crochet, 9 double crochets. Alright friends, I finished this row as well, and now we're moving on to rows 12 and 13. I'll explain to you how to knit them, and you'll do them on your own. After that, we only have one more thing left. There's still the last, 14th row. It's the edging row. We'll knit that one together, and I'll show you how to start it. As for how to knit rows 12 and 13, they're done almost exactly the same as row 11, with just 2 differences. The first difference is at the beginning of the row, the start of the row, the start of the segment. Here, instead of a single crochet like we just did, we'll do a decrease. We've already done decreases together before. Right here, the decrease is made up of 2 single crochets. Now I'll show you how to make a decrease. Again, it's made up of 2 single crochets. When we start the first of these stitches, we don't finish it right away. We insert the hook under the next chain, grab the working yarn, pull it through. Now there are 2 loops on the hook, and we crochet them together. That's a decrease in our case. It consists of 2 single crochets. Next, there will be not 2, but 3 loops on the hook, because at first there are only 2 loops on the hook, but after that there will be 3. Remember, a decrease is made from 2 single crochets. Because we made a decrease here, we took away 1 stitch from this section. So here, instead of 9 double crochets like we did before, there will be 8, because 1 was used for the decrease. So in row 12, we do a decrease, then 8 double crochets, another decrease, and 8 double crochets. Finish the row, close it, and move on to row 13. In row 13, we do the same, a decrease, and now not 8, but 7 double crochets. With a double crochet, because we start with a decrease again and take away 1 more stitch. So from here, we end up with 1 less stitch. So in row 13, we do a decrease, 7 double crochets, and repeat this to the end, but we don't close the row. Here, we'll move on to the edging. I'll start this part together with you, and then you'll finish the edging on your own. So now, knit 2 rows, close the first one, and don't close the second one. We start with a decrease, and the single stitches are made with double crochets. Row 12, 8 stitches, row 13, 7 single stitches. Alright friends, please continue knitting on your own, and we'll meet again after the edging. I've finished our 2 rows, and I'll show you what I've got so far. Here's the intermediate result. I've reached the end of row 13, and now I'm moving on to the edging. I didn't close the row, as I mentioned before. For the edging, we'll be using slip stitches. Insert the hook into the very first stitch of the row, then take the working yarn and pull it through. Now you have 2 loops on the hook, and you pull 1 through the other. That was a slip stitch. Once again, insert the hook under the next chain. Pull through so you have 2 loops on the hook. The height of both loops should be the same. Pull 1 loop through the other, insert the hook again, pull through, and pull 1 through the other again. Insert the hook. Pull through, pull 1 loop through the other, and for the last time, insert the hook, pull through, and pull 1 through the other. And this is the kind of chain we get, and thanks to this chain, the edge of our basket becomes denser. This is the edge. See, here is without edging, and here is with edging. So we insert the hook under each chain. Now you'll do the edging on your own. Crochet until the last stitch. Here, we will close the row and hide the tail end. With that, the base of the pumpkin is finished. That's it, girls. I've finished the edging, and now there's just one final touch left. We need to make the final finishing stitch here and hide the tail that's left from crocheting inside the pumpkin under the stitches. What do? Here's what we do next. This tail is about 10 to 15 centimeters long. Cut it off. Next, I pull this loop out to the front side of the pumpkin and make the finishing stitch. I skip this stitch, insert the hook, grab the next one, and take the working yarn. And like this, I pull it through, and now I need to bring this tail back. Right here, yes, into this stitch, right here in the center where the top one comes out. This part so that I get the same kind of loop, just like here on the edging. For this, I insert the hook from the wrong side. Right here into the center of this braid. Just like this. I grab this tail and pull it to the wrong side. Next, if needed, I adjust everything here and tighten it up. And here is my loop that I just made. It's perfectly even, and you can't see where I closed the row. That's it. Now all that's left is to hide this tail. How do we hide the tail? In any order, in any direction, under any stitches, in such a way that it's not visible. We hide the remaining end a little bit. We cut it off. Well, first I'll show you, and then you can finish it yourself. I insert it under a stitch like this. And then I pull it through another stitch like this. Let's say these two here, right like this. I take this tail and pull it through under these stitches, tightening it a bit. And in this way, in any direction that's convenient for you, however you think it will be least visible. Yes, you weave in this tail and cut off the remaining end, just like that, and you're done. I'll hide the tail all the way by myself, then show you how this part of the pumpkin turned out, and then we'll move on to knitting the lid. I've finished weaving in the yarn. There's a little tail left, so I'll trim it. No need to hide it any further. Now I just straighten out the basket, since it got a bit squished while I was finishing up here. I'm carefully straightening out all of these segments, and now I'll show you what I ended up with. Break time equals 0.5s/. Here's the first part. So this is the base of the basket, as you can see. The outline is also quite sturdy thanks to the edging. All that's left is for us to knit the lid, and that's it. To start knitting the lid, we first make a little loop that we'll use to lift the lid. As I mentioned before, you can improvise and make something different if you want. I'm showing you this version of the loop. For this, I'm using a 4mm jute rope. The jute rope is about 30 to 40 centimeters long. And now I need to tie it. I'm tying it into a loop like this. You need to tighten it really well so the loop doesn't come undone. And then you need to cut off these ends. Let's cut them off together. Now I'll tighten it up. Cut off these ends. And none. These little tips that are left over, You need to glue them down with PVA glue like this to get this result. You can handle this part on your own. I won't show how to glue it. Just glue it, hold it in place, and once it's set, you can start knitting as I mentioned before. If you don't want to use PVA glue, you can use a hot glue gun instead. Once it's glued down, now you have this result, and you can start knitting. Since we're knitting the first 3 rows of the lid, they're identical to the first 3 rows we knitted for the base of the pumpkin. So first, we need to make a magic ring with 6 single crochets. Next, in the second row, double each stitch so you end up with 12, and in the third row, we'll follow this pattern. 1 single crochet, increase, 1 single crochet, increase, 1 single crochet, increase, and again, we're using only single crochets for all of this. Now I'll crochet the magic ring with you and make 6 single crochets together. I'll show you how I tuck in the tail, and then you can finish the next 2 rows on your own. Secure the first stitch on your own, and I count as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I use the chains as a guide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The chain is on the hook. That's it. I've finished crocheting the stitches into the ring. Now I take the tail, thread it through the ring, and tighten the ring. So that the tail doesn't slip out. Next, do the same thing. Pull them closer together. Insert the hook into the first stitch. Take the last stitch, which you need to pull out a bit to make the finishing stitch, that is, to close the round. Then insert the hook here, making sure it is positioned correctly and securely in place. Grab the loop. I made it a bit too tight. Let me stretch it out now. The loop, and I crochet it through. Pull everything tight, and that's it. The very first round with the amigurumi ring is finished. Next, we double the stitches, get 12, and in the third round, as I mentioned, we crochet 1 single stitch, and increase, 1 single, and increase, and close everything the same way. Don't forget about the tail. We also crochet it in. As for closing the round, look, there are actually many ways to close a round. For example, in my master class on the big pumpkin, the pumpkin basket, which I've linked in the description, I closed the round differently there. Here, I'm closing the round another way. If you know another method, please feel free to use it. You don't have to close the round exactly this way. I'm showing this just for understanding, so you know this isn't the only right way to do it. There are other options as well. All right, friends, please finish the next 2 rounds on your own, and then we'll meet up together. I've already finished knitting these 3 rounds in the 4th round, so now we're moving on to the 4th round, and there will be following the pattern together. A single crochet, 2 increases, and double crochets. We'll work the beginning together, and you'll do the rest on your own. So secure the stitch. This is our single crochet. Next, in the following 2 stitches, we'll make 2 double crochets in each, meaning we're making increases. 1, into the same chain, into the same stitch. 2, that's our first increase. And again, 1 into the next chain. And 2. That's our second increase. That's it. The pattern is finished. Next, we repeat single crochet, 2 increases, and so on. Keep going to the end. Please continue on your own, and I'll see you in the next row. Let's move on. Next, pay attention. The formula is already starting to take shape, so let's move on to the next row. So this will be our 5th row, and here's the pattern we'll be following. Single crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 increases made with double crochets, 1 double crochet. We crochet all the way to the end and finish off just like we did before. Let's work the first segment together. Secure the stitch, and that gives us our first single crochet. Next, according to the pattern, 1 double crochet. Let's crochet it. Then in the next 2 stitches, we make increases, 2 double crochets here and 2 double crochets here. With a double crochet, we make the first increase. 1 and then the second increase. 2. Next, we have a single double crochet again, and that's the end of the pattern for this part. Again, we have a single crochet, and then we repeat what we just did together. Again, friends, you work through everything on your own, finish the row, and then we'll move on to the next row together. So, girls, I finished this row as well. And now we're on the 6th row, where we'll follow the next pattern. 1, 2, 3 single crochets, then an increase with single crochets. That is, we crochet 2 single crochets into this stitch, and then again 3 single crochets. And then we repeat 3 single crochets, an increase, 3 single crochets. Crochet to the end, but do not close the row. Here we're going to move on to the last row. Crocheting, and then we'll have one more edging row. Don't close the row. Finish the pattern to the end without closing it. Now we'll crochet this first segment together, and then you'll do the rest on your own. So crochet the first single crochet, then the second single crochet, and then the third single crochet. Now, according to the pattern, we have an increase with single crochets. 1, 2, and then we repeat again, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3. That's it. The pattern is finished. After that, repeat the same thing, and I'll meet you again. In the next row, I reached the end of the row, but didn't close it. And now I'm moving on to the last row. And what do? What will the pattern be? I immediately insert the hook into the first stitch and make a single crochet. In total, the pattern will be like this. A slip stitch, 7 single crochets, a slip stitch, 7 single crochets. But at the very beginning, I start right away with a single crochet, so I immediately have 7 single crochets. Then a slip stitch, then 7 single crochets, a slip stitch, and so on, continuing like this all the way to the very last stitch. You crochet to the end. And next we move on to the edging. So now we've made the very first single crochet, then we have the second single crochet, and then the third single crochet. Break time equals 0.5s / 4th, 5th, and 6th in the sequence. 7th. Now we make a slip stitch, so we pull through and work one into the other, a slip stitch. These are the stitches we used for the edging. Yes, right here we did the edging along the edge with slip stitches, so we've already made them. Next, I insert the hook into the next chain, and make a single crochet. 1, and then 6 more like that. So in total, there should be 7. That's it, friends. Again, finish the rest on your own. 7 single crochets, a slip stitch, 7 single crochets, a slip stitch, and continue like this to the end. And here, we don't close the row. We're going to move on to the edging. I've finished the row, and here I made a slip stitch and 7 single crochets. I'm making another slip stitch. This is the slip stitch where I should have started the row. But I didn't start from there. I started right away with 7 single crochets. So we've made the last one the very last. In this row, we finished the row. And now, without closing it off, I keep making slip stitches, and this will be the edging for the lid. So in this way, I'm edging the entire outline like this. We've already done this together before. Do the same all the way around, then finish off. Just like we finished off here, right? We made this last chain. Do the same thing, and then hide the yarn tail along the inside of the lid on the inner side. Cut off the remaining tail. And that's it. And our lid is finished. I'll also sew on a label and show you the final result I got. Well, friends, we're coming to the end of our master class. We've finished the lid as well. I've sewn on the label. Let me show you my lid. This is how much yarn I have left. So just a little bit. Now let's see. Break time equals 0.5s / does our lid fit our base perfectly? Here it is. And here's the result. So this is what we get when we follow this pattern together. That is, you get a beautiful pumpkin like this, or let me show you again. Here's a small one if you make it from cotton cord, a bit smaller. All right, well, I'll say goodbye to you now. I hope you enjoyed the masterclass and that everything was clear. I'm definitely looking forward to your feedback. I'd be very grateful for your comments and for photos of your finished pieces. And we'll meet again in another masterclass. I wish everyone good luck and beautiful pumpkins. Bye.